Hello out there. Governance is not complicated. Someone makes a decision, but some other people would have to live with that decision. This is what we are here to discuss, to converse about, and to x-ray and bring to your table for proper internalization. This is policy without politics. I have a co-host, Mustafa Chike, and I call him MCO. Mustafa, how are you? And you're welcome to the PWP, Policy Without Politics.
Thank you so much. I've been waiting for this for a long time. And I think that by the time we're done, we'll have educated and hopefully help both the policymaker and the policy recipient. My name is Mustafa Chike. I'm a banker, financial person by training, but I've had a small stint in government. So I think I understand how government works. And I'm very excited to bring this podcast to you.
My name is Dr. Ken Onyali. I'm a communication expert with bias in business advisor and leadership. Welcome to Policy Without Politics. How are you today, Chike?
Great.
Fantastic.
Very excited.
So how are you feeling about it?
I've been waiting. Look, this is something we've been planning for a long time. We think there's a huge gap in the discourse in this country about, policy. The reason why policy is important is that every day, all our lives, we run into policy of some kind. Driving the car on the right-hand side of the road or the left-hand side of the road is a policy. Many things are policy. So we're trying to create an environment where people look at policy as their friend, and it's not just left to government to make policies. We make policies in our house, and I will define policy as any set of rules that make things clear for people to the betterment of the people that are being affected by the policy. So it could be anything.
Yes.
It could be your houseboy not waking you up after 9 o'clock at night. That's a policy, and there are reasons for it. It could be your children going to bed at 9 a.m. Versus watching the last 11 o'clock, watching Arsenal till the end of the game
on Netflix.
on Netflix, because there's impact on them the next morning when they wake up. So policy is just the way we guide our lives. And unfortunately, Dr. Ken, government has a huge role in fashioning significant policies. And what we're trying to accomplish is help government clarify what they're doing and help us, the recipients of the policy, understand what government is doing and hopefully create a good direction for them. Hence, policy without politics. We want to stay away from politics.
So it's not a podcast that is designed for criticism. It is just for us to begin to pay attention to the importance of policy, how it affects our lives. So whether it is going to be government and how it affects... we on the podcast don't make policies, but ours is to take the policy, try to understand it, try to explain it, try to simplify it so that a 9-year-old would understand how it bounces back at.
But we may suggest policy.
We may suggest, and we'll have feedback
policy
channels with the course of time so that the viewing public can come back to us to say, hey, did you pay attention to this? Hey, you are wrong with this direction, or what you are saying does not come with mathematical exactitude. Because sometimes when numbers are involved, then it becomes controversial.
I will tell you, we need a policy on how to deal with the Iran war, for example. The Iran war is going to continue for a long time. And that we have to have a policy about it. And we don't have to wait for others to lead the way. We don't have to do ad hoc things like give airlines a discount. This is a policy that needs to be done. So Nigerians understand that the government cares, government is aware, government is ahead of it, and this is how it will benefit Nigerians. So I think that's a policy that I think we can suggest to whoever is listening that we need. How do we deal with the Iran war?
But before we dive in proper, I like to explain. Let's coming back to what policy is. And I like to bring it down to brass tacks. What I mean by brass tacks, for me, policy is like a rule book. If I can say that, and without a rule book, we make things, that are up seemingly begin to cascade down without wages, so decisions will still be made, but they just are not made without accountability and the necessary consistency. And if we don't do that, it will not be visually in our favor and all the recipients. So it's like a rule book, isn't it?
Yeah.
But not with rigid boundaries.
Yes, and we need to make it clear that the biggest policies that will impact the most people are made by government. There's no question about that.
Okay.
So we'll seem from time to time to be talking about what government is doing or not doing.
Okay.
Or what, and it's going to be things that they should do that they're not doing, things they're doing that they should do that are be done better, and things that they shouldn't be doing in the first place. So again, I think it's important to set this up that it's not criticizing. It is suggesting, improving, because when they're in their ivory towers, they don't necessarily understand how their policies affect the person on the street. And our concern is the person on the street.
Yes.
And ultimately, it benefits government if people on the street understand why government is doing policy.
So now that you've made an example of society, and it's a very touchy one, and which resonates anyway. But now that I use another category of society, because this is how policy touches every ordinary person in life. Talking about ordinary people, the school child, for example, attends, or the school a child attends, is shaped by an education policy. I don't know if you agree with me, because your street has no light, for example.
Yes.
It is an infrastructure policy outcome.
Yeah.
Insecurity is a resource allocation. So Nigerians experience the consequences of policy in one single day. So many consequences of policy. So if there is no correct, adequate policy around education, it affects the choice of where your child goes to school or does not go. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think many of us, I mean, at least my generation, we went to school in Nigeria. I went to school in Ibadan. I went to school in Onitsha. I went to school in Lagos.
Okay.
And I did my first university in Nigeria.
Okay.
And I found that Nigerians can compete with anybody in issues like academics, intellectualism, intelligence. But where we fall short is things that require infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we don't manufacture as well as the Chinese because they have infrastructure. But we can think as well as them. And so all these policies you just mentioned, the lack of it has serious consequences.
Yeah.
It's not that, and if you take a Nigerian to China, he will just be as effective and as efficient as them. So again, government needs to understand that, for example, I was thinking today in the shower, if I had the authority, I would go to the Americans and say, there's a company called Bechtel in San Francisco, one of the best engineering firms. Or the Army of Engineers, there's something called the Army of Engineers in America. Those guys could provide 50,000 megawatts of power in Nigeria in a year.
Really?
If you go to America and say, bring your Army Corps engineers, how long will it take them to give us 50,000 megawatts? They can do it in a year if they wish to. So the issue is, are we willing to give up what it takes to get them to do that? Because there's a price. But that's policy. If we say power is the most important thing we can do, there are solutions. If we say security is the most important thing we can do, there are solutions. But we may not want to pay the price. And a lot of price is national pride. We are too arrogant to go and ask for help in a proper way. So this issues, again, are policy or lack of policy.
Yes. When you say when you introduce arrogance to the conversation, it reminds me of a man who is proud and poor. That is double tragedy, because you have to choose one. It's either you're proud or you're poor. When you have both combination, then it's a predicament, isn't it? So, but I like to say, contributing there, that the absence of policy is not neutral. It's an indecision that has become a decision.
Absolutely.
Because if you take PSCN or EKDC, for example, in Lagos, that costs power in your neighborhood for 18 hours a day and restores it in GRA, and that becomes a pattern. That is a policy. Because somebody somewhere is sitting down. It may not be a written policy, but somebody is making that decision. and it's affecting a whole lot, people's life, people's productivity, and people's decision in life. So it's governance in practice when those kind of decisions are made, even though they're not written, but we don't understand that it's policy.
Yes. I had a conversation. Again, we're talking, we're going to go into specific policies.
Yes.
But we had a general conversation, and I said to somebody, if you had all the power in Nigeria, the power of the president, power of the legislature, the power of the judiciary, what are the first three things you would focus on? And people have also
different preferences. Yeah.
But that's a discussion we should have as a nation.
Yeah.
What are the three things that are most important to us? Because to tell you the truth, we don't have the resources to do 10 things.
Yes.
We cannot cover the 10 things that affect us the most. But what are the three? I'm sure you and I will disagree on the top three. Maybe of the three, we agree on two, or we disagree on the third one. But we're not having those conversations. And we're not having them in a proper arena. And that's what we want to have. We're going to tell you what we think are the three most important things for government to focus on. We will tell you.
Yes.
And if you disagree, give us feedback. You may change our mind.
Yes. Before we dwell on it, I'll just give a teaser, and that is my own perspective to what you've just thrown to the table.
Yes.
I think power, for me, is the priority. Nothing can be done without power. You can't be productive without power. And I think education, and when I mean education, I mean skill sets, developing skill set that is required to power the economy. And then the last one is law and order for me. If there's not going to be law and order, you don't get anything done. But we're going to discuss this deeper. I don't know what your preference is in terms of...
I think you read my mind. Those were exactly my top three.
Yeah.
But some people have said health.
Yeah.
And we have this soft socialist issues we like to throw around.
Yes.
Yes, health is important, but it's not one of the top three.
Yeah.
I mean, in Europe, for hundreds of years, they had wars. There was always one war or the other. And the war served the purpose of reducing the population.
Yeah.
That was the purpose.
Yeah.
And until they could develop resources to feed the entire population, wars did it for them.
Yeah.
Now we don't need wars to reduce our population.
Yeah.
But what we need to do is to be more productive to help take care of our population, which we're not.
Yeah. The productivity is actually low because I've had the benefit of working, schooling, and living in Europe, So when you talk productivity, I have an idea what it is, because if you're going to be paid £8 an hour in the UK,
you better be producing 20 pounds.
20 pounds because you're going to be on your feet for those 8 hours, maybe with 30 minutes break. What I see people here say they are engaged, that they are employed, but I know you're not employed, you're underemployed. So there must be policies around this, to guide productivity.
You should go to the National Secretariat in Abuja.
Yeah.
At 1 o'clock
yes.
on Fridays. There's nobody working.
Yeah.
And yet, these people agitate for more income. And so you're right. We need to measure people, how much they produce, and then decide on that basis how much is fair to pay them.
Yeah. What we've done today, MCO, is try to define what policy is. It's an introductory episode, policy without politics, PWP, introductory episode. So by the time we come next time, then we'll take sector by sector. And in fact, we'll probably start with, have we really lacked good policies, or have we lacked the power to implement? That will be our next topic next time. But if we have time, we deep dive. But today has been the introductory. Again, it is policy without politics. There's no politics in it. We're trying to introduce a conversation that will benefit everybody, government, society.
I hope you're not cutting off my pet peeve.
Well, I don't know how much time the producer will give to me, but let me give you that 5 minutes, if you want to do that.
my pet peeve, ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
is Nigerians celebrate foreign exchange reserves. So let me tell you what it costs you to have a reserve. I will tell you what the cost is by illustrating what it means. The Central Bank of Nigeria buys dollars. The only way it can acquire dollars is by buying it. It doesn't make any dollars. It buys the dollars and it gives somebody naira. The naira you invest at, for the sake of this conversation, 20%. The dollar Central Bank buys from you, it has to, if it's in reserves, put in JP Morgan, all those banks and some Nigerian banks at 3%. So every dollar in your reserves today is costing you roughly 17% a year if your currency is stable. So $50 billion roughly is costing you about $8 billion a year to keep the reserves and maintain the currency flat. So we clap anytime it goes up. But that $8 billion a year we're using to have these big reserves and keep currency stable is probably 30% of your budget, 20% of your annual budget. We have to have a serious conversation as to what's the maximum amount of reserves we should keep. It's very expensive, and we celebrate what we should not be celebrating.
Yes.
That's my pet peeve of the week.
I get you. But next week we'll deep dive, and next episodes will clarify more. And we are going to talk about the importance of policy, how much it affects us, and have we had bad policies, or is the implementation that is the problem? MCO. Good to have you today.
Good.
And happy to have you as the co-host. And this is a very fantastic podcast that I think will not only illuminate, but bring clarity to a lot of things that are not very, very, very crystal clear to the public, as small as they look.
Let's hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, viewers, and keep watching, and look forward to the next episode.